If you own rentals in Oregon, November is not an abstract civics exercise. The next governor signs or vetoes the bills that land on your desk as 90-day notices, screening rules, deposit accounting, and the annual rent cap percentage. This is a two-candidate look at the Oregon governor race 2026 landlords actually have to live with. Governor Tina Kotek's record in office and in the Speaker's chair, and Senator Christine Drazan's publicly released plan, plus her housing votes. No endorsement. Two candidates. You do the weighing. A governor does not write every line of ORS Chapter 90. A governor does set the emergency orders, the housing budget, the agency directors, and the veto pen. For owners, that shows up as three practical questions. 1. Can you raise rent enough to cover insurance, taxes, utilities, and repairs? 2. Can you build, buy, or refinance without the process eating the deal? 3. Does the state's homelessness and behavioral health spend actually reduce the pressure on private rentals, or just move the problem around the block? Keep those three questions in your pocket as you watch. Senate Bill 608 is the first in the nation statewide rent cap and just cause framework. House Speaker Tina Kotek was a pre-session filed sponsor. After the 2018 election gave Democrats a supermajority, she treated the bill as a Speaker priority and moved it early in the 2019 session with very little room to amend it on the floor. Here is the inside piece owners should know, because it still shapes how housing bills get written in Salem. After the supermajority landed, Speaker Kotek reached out to a single landlord advocate, Jim Straub at the Oregon Rental Housing Association, and asked to work the bill privately rather than reopen the multi-group fight that killed House Bill 2004 in 2017. Those meetings produced a package landlords could live with compared with the 2017 draft. A 7% plus CPI cap, a 15-year new construction exemption, and just cause after 12 months instead of a harder freeze. It was not a wide industry negotiation. The Portland Area Rental Owners Association and most other owner groups were not at that table. The political math was simple. The bill was going to pass, and the only question was how sharp the edges would be. Then, Representative Christine Drazan voted no on Senate Bill 608. In 2025, she voted no again on House Bill 3054, which locked larger manufactured dwelling and marina facilities, more than 30 spaces, at a 6% cap beginning in 2026. Governor Kotek signed House Bill 3054. The cap you live with in 2026 is 9.5% for most covered tenancies under ORS 90.323. That is 7% plus CPI, now hard capped at 10% after the 2023 inflation spike hit 14.6%. That is the current operating box. The political question for November is whether the next governor treats that box as settled law, or a floor for tighter local overlays, or a statute worth reopening. Owners already know this from renewal packets. Oregon property insurance premiums jumped after the 2020 Labor Day fires and kept climbing. State regulators have reported roughly 30% average premium growth since 2020, with much larger hits in wildfire-exposed markets. Multifamily insurance nationally rose on the order of 75% per unit from 2019 to 2024. Property taxes keep stepping up. PG&E and other utilities have not been shy about rate cases. Labor and materials for turnovers did not get cheaper. The rent cap does not care about your insurance declaration page. Covered units older than 15 years can move only inside the annual percentage, once per 12 months after the first year, with 90 days written notice. Portland piles on relocation assistance when a qualifying no-cause or qualifying landlord reason termination hits Title 30. That is the squeeze. Expenses compound. Lawful rent does not keep up. Some owners absorb it. Some defer maintenance, some sell. None of those outcomes show up as a line item in a campaign ad. Kotek's housing record as governor is a production and emergency response record. Her office cites more than 50,000 future units added to the production pipeline. 2025 permitted units up 5% in Oregon, while the U.S. was down 3%, and a 25% jump in multifamily permits. In 2026, she signed bills expanding urban growth boundary tools. House Bill 4082 and House Bill 4035, creating a preservation fund with House Bill 4036 and cutting some plan review friction with House Bill 4037. That is real supply work. It does not repeal Senate Bill 608, and it does not write your insurance premium down. Drazan's published plan puts affordability in the first sentence. Day 1, she says she would order every executive branch agency to identify rules, fees, and procedures that raise the cost of housing, energy, food, transportation, childcare, healthcare, or running a business. On housing production, she wants a 120-day maximum decision period for qualifying projects, a housing permit command center, private plan reviewers when cities are backlogged, simpler commercial-to-housing conversions, a library of pre-approved plans, and property tax relief aimed at veterans and seniors 65 and older. She says she would veto new tax and fee increases and protect the kicker. Those are campaign commitments, not statutes. They matter because they tell you which lever she intends to pull first. Price controls on existing rentals, or friction on new supply and operating cost. And now a couple shameless plugs. If you want the statute, the form, and the other owner in the room who already tripped over the same notice, that is what the Portland Area Rental Owners Association is for, PAROA.org. Membership gets you current landlord forms, education that tracks the actual Oregon and Portland rules, and a helpline that still answers when a 90-day notice or a deposit accounting question shows up on a Tuesday. Elections change the temperature in Salem. They do not replace a checklist. Owners in the Portland Metro and Central Oregon who would rather not live inside that checklist every week can hand the operations to Northwest Real Estate and Property Management, NWRPM.com. Rent cap math, Portland relocation triggers, and insurance renewals are easier when someone whose job is the file is watching the calendar. Okay, back to the file that actually hits the block. Kotek declared a homelessness emergency on day 1. Executive Order 23-02 go and kept extending it. The state's own close-out numbers for that emergency response are not small. 6,286 shelter beds created or kept open. 5,539 households rehoused from unsheltered homelessness, and 25,942 households pulled back from eviction or homelessness risk. She signed House Bill 3644 in 2025 to make a statewide shelter program permanent, and she has kept hundreds of millions in the 2025-27 budget for shelter operations, rehousing, and prevention. That is the official scoreboard. The street-level scoreboard is messier. Portland State's 2025 statewide estimate counted 27,119 people homeless on the January night of the count, about 35% above the 2023 comparable county, with 16,512 unsheltered. Shelter capacity grew fast. Unsheltered count still rose between the last full statewide unsheltered point in time in 2023 and 2025, with Multnomah County carrying most of the increase and a methodology change that makes year-over-year city comparisons sloppy. Kotek's office prefers the 35-county comparison that shows unsheltered homelessness down 6.4% from 2024 to 2025, where methods did not change. Both numbers can be true at once. Owners walking a Portland or Bend block still see the gap between beds funded and block cleared. The deeper problem is not only tense. Oregon spent decades shrinking the institutional mental health system and never fully replaced it with treatment that holds. Low-barrier shelter and rental assistance can park a person for a night or a year. They do not by themselves treat addiction or serious mental illness. Private landlords feel that as property damage, repeated lease violations, and neighbors who want the unit next door to function like housing, not like an unlicensed facility. Drazan's plan says she would declare a separate state of emergency on addiction and mental health, audit homeless services and addiction spending, shift grants toward recovery and long-term sobriety, reconnect people with family where that is possible, and measure success by exits into treatment and stability, not by dollars spent on low-barrier beds. She has not published a line-item budget that shows which current programs she would cut on day 90. Treat that as a direction, not a spreadsheet. So here is an open question I actually want in the comments. When you walk your own block, what are you measuring first? Beds funded, tents gone, or units you can still insure and keep habitable? Drop it below. No campaign speeches. Just what you see from the porch. A short word on the city overlay, because Metro owners live it. Portland's Title 30 screening rules, security deposit accounting, and relocation assistance sit on top of the statewide cap. The governor does not repeal the Portland City Code. The governor does appoint the people who decide whether the next statewide bill invites cities to go further or draws a line. If you own in Multnomah, Washington, or Clackamas, watch both Salem and City Hall. If you own in Bend, Medford, or a Willamette Valley town, watch Salem and do not assume Portland's extra chapter applies to you. Oregon has had Democratic control of the governorship and for most of the last decade both chambers. Supermajority years are when Speaker priority bills like Senate Bill 608 move fast, and private narrow negotiations replace a broader markup. Divided government is slower and sloppier. It is also the only structural check most owners will ever get on the next housing bill. That is not a party speech. It is a description of how the building works. Stack the two files side by side. Kotek's file is a record. She sponsored and drove Senate Bill 608. She signed later tightening such as House Bill 3054. She put real money and emergency orders into shelter, rehousing, and production. Unsheltered counts and visible disorder did not disappear. Ownership costs rose inside a capped rent line. Drazan's file is a plan plus a voting record. No on Senate Bill 608, no on House Bill 3054. A Day 1 affordability order, 120-day permitting. Audits of homeless and addiction spend. Property tax relief aimed at veterans and seniors, and a veto threat on new taxes and fees. Plans are cheaper than statutes. Votes are not. If you own fourplexes in Gresham, a 1980s fourplex in Salem, or a value add in Redmond, the useful test is boring. Which set of habits is more likely to let you insure the building, keep it habitable, and stay in the market for the next 10 years? You do not need a campaign yard sign to answer that. You need the operating statement. Hey, if you're a Portland area landlord, come join the community over at www.paroa.org. We've got education, forms, networking, and we fight for your rights at the legislature. And for owners in the Portland Metro or Central Oregon looking for hassle-free management, check out the pros at www.nwrpm.com.